all throughout the book of Herd Mentality, we're going to challenge you to be a better leader. And as I was writing it, I was reminding of a story about myself that I don't really share in the book because I don't like telling this story. But years ago, I used to work with a lady named Jennifer Shirkani. Now, you need to write that name down because you need to look her up and follow some of her work. And at the time, we were working with large corporations. We were developing their sales model for their sales team. And then what we would do is we would train all of the people in like a 3-day seminar, bring them into hotels to do that. But then we would also take it to the next level. And that was, we'd take each one of these account managers or account executives and we would individually go on a ride along with them, a coaching ride along. And so the idea was that they would plan 3 to 4 visits on a day. We would come in, we'd go on the appointment, and afterwards we debrief. So what we're looking for is all these techniques that we taught you, are you using them? And one of the interesting things is that we would go through 3 appointments with somebody, and then at the end of the day, we're like, I don't think they got any of it. They're still not connecting. They're not changing. There's nothing going on there. And it was like almost an awareness kind of component that was there. So one night after we were packing up late in the hotel, Jennifer and I are talking about the idea. She had kind of keyed in on the fact that she felt what was going on was a lack of emotional intelligence. She had started doing an intense amount of research on it to understand it. Emotional intelligence is pretty simply like my awareness, my self-awareness, my self-management, who I am, my personality, my habits, traits, whatever, how they come across to other people, how they affect other people. And where it clicked for me was, and she was talking about in these ride-alongs, we could watch the customer as well as the sales professional, right? We could see when the customer was like going, that was dumb, but the salesperson missed it, or I don't agree with you, they missed it. We could just see the disconnects that were there and give that kind of feedback. And what we were focusing on is the ones that we would give the feedback, but nothing would change. In her mind, that was their lack of self-awareness, their lack of EQ. And so as we dug up a little bit deeper, she decided to give me some EQ feedback. And she said, Matt, here's what I would say to you. You are limited by your brilliance. Now hear that, right? Limited by your brilliance. Now what did Matt hear? Matt heard, Jennifer just said I was brilliant. This is awesome. I am brilliant. And in fact, I spent my whole career trying to get people to look at me and think I'm brilliant. I wanted to be the smartest person in the room. I wanted to be the person who you used my idea. You used my strategy. I wanted to be the most creative. All these things were incredibly important to me. And even though we dissected and talked about it, I'll bet it was, I won't bet, I know it was a few years before it finally sunk in through my thick skull and made sense. And unfortunately, when it really hit me is after a huge failure to where my brilliance limited me in my ability there. You see, I was so focused on myself and how the rest of the world perceived me, how the employees perceived me as a consultant, how the CEOs saw me. I wanted to be in the room and people think I was the smartest person in the room. When I was working with Dell and they were launching into retail, I would like to sit in that room and be the smartest retail guy in the room. Those things were important to me. It's how I was gaining my value, my worth. But you know what I was missing? There were 22 other very bright people in the room who had good ideas, who had good insight, who had good thoughts, and I wasn't hearing it. Because me and I wanted was the most important thing. So my question for you is this. When you sit back and you analyze your leadership style and how you work with inside your company, inside your organization, are you more focused on what people think about you, getting that promotion, your idea winning, or are you more focused on the company winning? The best solution coming out. Not if it's yours, it's just the best solution coming out. Because you might be the smartest person in the room, but if that's what you're focused on, then you, like me, were very limited in my brilliance.